It's the most powerful show on television. High drama with intense energy. A show dedicated to a few brave souls who risk their lives for the sake of their craft. Its in-depth reporting goes to the core and unlocks the mysteries behind today's raciest sport. Motorsports. Catch it when you can.
The Speed Station welcomes you to Dover International Speedway for the running of the Drydene 400. Yes, folks, we are back to full-time NASCAR Cup Series coverage on our weekend time slot. Coverage of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series will be moved over to post-tech, so we will be covering the KDI Office Technology 200 in full Wednesday at 6 p.m. on episode number 3 of Post Tech. So that coverage is still going to be there. However, we are shifting focus back to the NASCAR Cup Series for our major coverage. In the race analysis, today's event takes place over the course of 200 laps, with stage number 1 ending on lap 50 and stage 2 ending on lap 100. In your regular season point standings entering today's event at Dover, the most recent race winner at the Nashville Fairgrounds after beating out Clint Boyer and Kyle Busch in the closing laps, Chase Elliott, holds the point lead by 3 points above Denny Hamlin. 5 points back is Justin Allgaier, 16 back is Kevin Harvick, 19 back is Clint Boyer in his final Cup Series season, 29 back is Kyle Busch, his biggest rival of the year. Brad Keselowski is 32 points behind the leader Chase Elliott. Matt Benedetto is 38 points back, Joey Logano is 40 points back, and Austin Dillon, 41 points back, rounds out your top 10 in the regular season point standings. The driver who tested NASCAR's Spec Next Gen test car at Dover International Speedway was none other than Martin Truex Jr., the most successful active driver in the field at Dover International Speedway. And now the feedback was very interesting, to say the least. It wasn't necessarily positive, because the biggest thing that they noticed was that the car was actually bottoming out on the entry to these turns, because 24 degrees of bank, it puts a lot of load on the chassis in particular. So they were having a lot of bottoming out issues with the frame hitting the ground and so on and so forth, but they're still trying to address that issue, but I'm sure that they will get that fixed before we have these cars full-on multi-car testing late in the year, and once we get into full actual racing with this car in 2022. So there's still a little bit of work right there when it comes to the high bank package that they need to bring to run this car properly. But given the fact that this is just NASCAR's spec test car, and soon we will be having actual teams building these things and figuring out what they need to be successful, I'm sure that those problems will be circumvented just by some of the innovation from the individual teams themselves, because they always come up with a fix for something, don't they? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the NASCAR Cup Series ride-along segment. Today we are at the Dover International Speedway, the famous 1-mile concrete oval. 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways and 24 degrees of banking in the corners. So I think you can tell why we call this place a self-cleaning racetrack, because if you get involved in a crash even on a straightaway, everything funnels right down towards this inside wall. And you see right there, the exit of pit road, that wall can really come out to get you because of how sharp of an angle it is and how it's a bit of a blind zone when you're coming off of the apron on the exit of turn 2. So anyway, already off of turn number 4, you're pretty much going full speed. Imagine this green flag for a qualifying lap. And you got to really turn the car in early and get the thing to work on the bottom. This place being a concrete surface, it still has a lot of the grip that it had when they first poured the concrete, even though that was so long ago Kyle Petty won on this surface. It hasn't been redone since, but the grip is still there. You can really just hook the bottom, and it's basically that simple. Once the tires start to wear out, you have to move up the racetrack just a little bit. But believe me, it is fast at this racetrack because the banking really holds you into the corners and the concrete still has all the grip you need to get around it. And that is how to run around Dover International Speedway. Try to get the car pointed and then just get back to the throttle as early as possible and drive that thing right down the straightaways. Kyle Larson scores the pole here at Dover International Speedway in his very own number 57 car by about 1/100th of a second over Martin Truex Jr. in the number 19, the defending winner here at Dover. Then Ross Chastain qualifies in third, Harrison Burton fourth, Christopher Bell fifth, Alex Bowman in sixth, Matt DiBenedetto seventh, Kevin Harvick in eighth, Denny Hamlin in ninth, and Daniel Suarez rounding out your top 10. Also, quick shout out to Kaz Grala qualifying 11th in the number 50 car for RCR. And now, let's get down trackside for the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
All right, boys, just like we talked about in the meeting, what's going to pay off for us today is patience and consistency. Good, smooth racing on the racetrack, and that's what will take us up to the front. We'll be there at the end of this thing.
And there's the green flag for the Drydene 400. Martin Truex Jr. actually gets the jump on the start. Larson and Truex side by side through turns 1 and 2. Kevin Harvick gets forced up to the outside line. He's already getting put 3 wide. Larson slides up on the exit of turn number 2. And Larson is now back out front at Dover. If you recall, last season in the number 42 car, he actually won stage number 1 at Dover. But now here comes the 55 car challenging the 57 through 1 and 2. Truex already has dropped down to third. Side by side on the entry to turn 3. 55 car Chastain inches ahead, and Ross Chastain is your leader. He led for a little while back at the Nashville Fairgrounds last week. His race kind of fell apart just a little bit after halfway. Martin Truex Jr. now up into second. And look at this. Christopher Bell goes to third. He had a very good run at the Nashville Fairgrounds, really the first time HRE has ran up front all season. Now up in the third spot. Here comes Harrison Burton as well. The rookie for Levine Family Racing. They have not ran up front very much whatsoever this year. Now just got around the pole sitter to move up into fourth. And now Matt DiBenedetto is going to try and follow suit to move into fifth spot, and it looks like he has done it. Christopher Bell all over the back bumper of the number 19 car of Martin Truex Jr., trying to get down to the inside to go for second. And Bell gets just a little bit better turn through 3 and 4. Tried to make the look down to the inside. In fact, they made contact. Now here comes Bell to the bottom. But Truex just drives it off into turn number 1 and clears the 61 car of Christopher Bell. The field is already pretty well single-filed out. It's a little bit abnormal, honestly, compared to how they've raced at Dover for the last couple seasons. If you can't recall, in 2019 and 2020, these races at Dover were more or less defined by giant crashes and flips. So I'd say to get almost to lap number 10 and us so far be just running single file, everybody trying to figure out how their car really is, that's pretty good. Because currently, no safety concerns like there was last year when Kevin Harvick went upside down in practice. Here comes Martin Truex Jr. getting the run down to the inside of the 55 through 3 and 4. Side by side on the exit of turn number 4 at the line. It was a very close race for the top spot. Scoring gives it to the 55 car of Chastain, but Martin Truex Jr. has taken the lead. That's a very familiar sight for Truex at this racetrack, as he scored his first career win at this racetrack back in 2007, back when he was driving for DEI. Harrison Burton as well trying to follow suit on the inside of that number 55 car, Ross Chastain. Christopher Bell has taken up second spot, and Harrison Burton going for third. Matt DiBenedetto just waiting in line behind in the number 2 car. In fact, he's starting to use some momentum off the outside line. Harrison Burton still battling with the 55 car down the front stretch as we've now completed lap number 10. And it looks like Burton is going to take up third spot. Top 3 runners right now are Toyota. However, they are not for the same team. Joe Gibbs, Hattori Racing Enterprises, and Levine Family Racing make up your top 3. Is now Larson going to the inside of the 55 car Chastain in his very own number 57 car. The pole sitter dropped back pretty quickly, but now trying to make his way back up through the field. Slides a little bit on the exit of turn 2 as well, racing with Denny Hamlin. It looks like down on the inside, Kyle Larson is going to get around the 55 of Ross Chastain. And how about this story? Chase Elliott, after winning last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds and comes into this race as your point leader, he is right now running in 39th spot, just getting around Jan Magnussen. Very bad run going so far for the 9 car of Chase Elliott, and Kurt Busch actually runs in last position. Some very competitive drivers right now in the back with poor handling race cars. Alex Bowman, who finished 5th in points last year, the best of the rest, in the number 88 car after taking 2 wins, moves over to the 48 this season. He has just gotten around Ross Chastain to make his way up into 6th spot. Currently the highest running Hendrick car and actually the highest running Chevrolet in the field. Christopher Bell is all over the back bumper of the number 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. And I will say this, to be able to run down Martin Truex Jr. at Dover, that's quite the statement. Because we all know how good Martin is at this racetrack. And currently coming into this race setting 28th in points, Truex is. This could really be a great opportunity for him to rebound at this portion of the season. Ross Chastain back down on the inside of the 48 car of Alex Bowman. These two are battling for 6th spot once again. Looks like Chastain's going to get around him. These two have been swapping back and forth for the 6th spot for several laps, but here comes Matt DiBenedetto down on the inside, now challenging Bowman for the 7th position. Looks like he's going to take it. This track still favors the bottom, like I mentioned in the pre-race segment, but look at that, Bowman actually clears him up on the outside line on the exit of turn 4. Just like what happened at Nashville Superspeedway. When it was first poured, the concrete at that racetrack, it really favored the bottom. And that was the same thing back when they first put the concrete layer down here at Dover. But over time, the groove starts to widen out. And here at Dover, it's widened out to about 2 to 3 lanes compared to what it used to be. Because back when, like I mentioned, Kyle Petty won here in '95, that was, I believe, the first race on the concrete surface at Dover. It was right on the bottom. If you veered off that bottom lane just a little bit, you were going to get freight trained, kind of like what we used to see at Bristol and what we now see at Nashville. The fairgrounds, but not the superspeedway. But these concrete tracks have finally worn in to where they're multi-groove. Only issue is it took about 20 years. So I wouldn't really quite recommend building a new concrete track because you really couldn't use it for entertaining races for about 20 seasons. You know who else isn't having a very good run right now? It is Justin Allgaier in the 42 car. He currently sets 34th. In fact, Chip Ganassi Racing's having a very terrible race right now with Kurt Busch in last position, Allgaier running 34th, and Quinn Houff running 35th. They really got to get a handle on this racetrack. Also, Kyle Busch really isn't running very good right now either in the 18 car. He resides in 24th spot. Here comes Harrison Burton down on the inside of Christopher Bell. Looks like the 95 car is going to move up into 2nd. Kyle Larson, once again, pushing just a little bit off of turn 2. Tried to get side by side with Christopher Bell, but could not do it. You know, we haven't mentioned William Byron very much all season. He's still chasing his first career Cup Series win, but he currently sets in 12th spot here at Dover. Not a half-bad run going for the driver of the number 24 car at the moment, outrunning the 2019 Series champion, Clint Boyer. But right behind Boyer is someone who's been rumored a potential replacement for the driver of the 14, Austin Dillon. He resides in 14th spot, getting a good run at that 3 car so far as he sets 10th in points, and he didn't even make the Daytona 500. So if he would have made that race, by the way, contact right there between Boyer and Byron, but if Dillon would have made that race, I could expect him to be somewhere around the top 5 in points. And Ross Chastain is now down on the inside of Kevin Harvick through turns 1 and 2. He takes up the spot. That moves Chastain up into 5th. You know, Tyler Ankrum really has not had the success that was expected out of him so far this year. It's taken GMS a little while to get used to competing full-time at the top level. They were making sporadic starts last year. They even won the Budweiser Shootout at Texas World Speedway. But bumping up their schedule from partial to full-time really took some adjustment. But they're currently running in 10th spot, getting a good run out of Ankrum. In fact, they're running down Kaz Gralla, going for 9th. We've got about 5 cars that have checked out at the moment. The distance between first and fifth is about 0.6 of a second. From sixth on back, there's a bit of a gap between Chastain and DiBenedetto. But at the moment, Martin Truex Jr. dominating the field and starting to break away just a little bit from the second-place runner of Harrison Burton. Here comes Christopher Bell right up to the back bumper of the 95 car on the exit of turn number 4, still pressuring Harrison Burton for that second spot. Tell you what, that 61's pretty fast right now. 95 appears to be just barely holding him up. The fastest car on the racetrack at the moment is actually the 4 car of Kevin Harvick, but it's a little bit difficult to pass at Dover International Speedway. You have to time it correctly, just like what Christopher Bell's doing right here on the entry to turn 1. You see, he took that look down to the inside, but couldn't quite do it. A little bit of contact right there on the exit of turn 2, but you see you can just pin someone down and they cannot get around you. But like I was saying, Harvick, fastest car on the racetrack right now. In fact, the only car to turn a lap in the 21-second bracket. However, Martin Truex Jr. is out front and dominating the race at the moment on lap number 33. And Martin Truex Jr.'s fastest lap only puts him in 7th out of the fastest cars on the racetrack. So really, based off those numbers, you wouldn't think Truex is very fast, but the difference is he's consistent. So I would guess with the 4 car of Harvick starting to drop off, he busted off one really good lap and then likely had to make up for that by slowing off the pace just a little bit because he might have burned up his tires a little bit too early. Chastain getting the run on the number 57 car of Kyle Larson. Tried to make it work on the exit of turn 4. Couldn't quite do it as he doesn't really have as good of drive off as the 57 does. Look at this racing in the back. This is between Eric Jones and Drew Herring. They almost got into each other on the exit of turn 4 right there, and these two are actually racing for 36th spot. That's this intense. Last week's winner, Chase Elliott, is not running very much better than he was at the start of the race right now. In fact, the 9 car resides in 40th spot. He hasn't passed a single car since the start of the race. Here comes Tyler Ankrum going for 9th spot on the 50 car of Kaz Gralla. Really dives it in through 3 and 4. Side by side down the front straightaway between the 26 and 50 cars. Down to turn number 1, Kaz Gralla clears him by just driving it into the corner and pinching that 26 car down. Auto Club winner Chase Briscoe is battling with Joey Logano for the 20th spot, so not a very good run going on right now for the 2018 Series champion, nor for Chase Briscoe, who is locked into the playoffs. Here comes Christopher Bell back down on the inside of the 95. Bell takes up 2nd. And Kyle Larson is following suit down on the inside, trying to take up 3rd off the 95. And Larson has done it. 57 car up into 3rd. Ross Chastain going to try and go down on the inside line as well to get around the 95. And this is how you can get freight train at this racetrack. The 95 car was in 2nd just a couple laps ago. Right now, he's in 6th. Here comes Kevin Harvick down on the inside of the number 95 car as well. That is going to move Harvick up into 6th spot. Bit of a gaggle of cars right here battling for position as that 95 car still dropping back. That moves Alex Bowman up to the outside line and allows Kaz Gralla to sneak by on the inside. And Kevin Harvick has finally cleared the number 95 car. Kaz Gralla is going to get around both the 48 and 95 here if he can get lucky a little bit. If Burton takes up the outside, but fortunately for Burton, he cuts right back down to the bottom. He's going to take the line off the 50 car, but the 48 car of Bowman gets stuck up on the outside line, and Gralla gets around him. Clint Boyer also making the best of this, getting around the 26 car of Ankrum. Looks like he's also going to get around the 48 of Bowman. And how about Austin Cindric, the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, after making absolutely no friends in last week's race at the Nashville Fairgrounds. After causing a couple wrecks as a 3-lap down car, he currently resides in 14th spot, outrunning Denny Hamlin. And we have a car on pit roads, the number 77 of Justin Haley, after reporting an issue with one of his wheels. So believe it or not, they are going to drop likely a couple laps down trying to get that fixed. Christopher Bell is caught right up to the back bumper. Martin Truex Jr. now with just 2 laps to go in stage number 1. Tries diving it into the corner, gets right up to the back bumper on the exit of turn number 4. Martin Truex Jr. sees the white flag in stage 1. Bell takes a look down to the inside. But Truex really powers it into the corner to stay ahead of the 61. Now onto the backstretch. Truex with a pretty clear margin above the 61 car of Bell. And out of turn number 4, Martin Truex Jr. picks up where he left off at Dover International Speedway to win stage number 1 in the Drydene 400. It is Martin Truex Jr., your stage 1 winner, above Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, and Kevin Harvick. And we will be back here at Dover International Speedway after some quick messages from our partners. NASCAR on Speed Station is being brought to you by RFJ, the official home of the RFJ AI series. By Knife Friend 725, the brains behind Project Retroval. And by Anthony's Online Simulation League. And this time by Martin Truex Jr. leads the entire lead lap field onto pit road. Oh, and Larson comes into his pit stall and makes contact with the right front fender of the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. That might just delay his stop a little bit. Actually, they did not bother fixing the right front fender on the 19 car, so Truex gets off of pit road in first above Christopher Bell, then the number 55 car of Ross Chastain, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, and the 57 of Kyle Larson. And the pace car ducks onto pit road. Martin Truex Jr. leading the field into a single file restart to start stage number 2. Green flag. Already the 61 car jumps up to the outside, trying to get a run on the 19 car Martin Truex Jr. Truex leads them down to turn number 1, right up by the wall, so he couldn't try a move on him. And here comes Matt DiBenedetto down on the inside of Kevin Harvick, going up into 4th spot. And now Chastain on the inside of the 61. He tried to go for second, couldn't quite do it. Bit of contact right there between the 19 and 61. That opens up the door for Chastain on the bottom. Down on the inside line, Ross Chastain looks like he's going to take up second off the 61 car. Look at that, the number 95 of Harrison Burton was put up all the way onto the outside line and is quickly dropping back. Down on the inside, the 57 car of Kyle Larson has just taken up 4th, getting around the number 2 car of Matt DiBenedetto, but he has the 50 of Kaz Gralla right in line behind. Gralla just got around the number 2 of Matt DiBenedetto. That moves the 50 car up into 5th spot. And look at Austin Dillon in the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. He currently resides in 9th spot, getting around the 4 car of Harvick to move up into 8th. It looks like down on the inside, he might be able to get around the 2 as we have a big crash on the backstretch. 95 car of Harrison Burton is involved. Caution flag is out. Martin Truex Jr. leads the field back to the yellow flag. Truex is your leader. Chastain resides in 2nd. Christopher Bell runs 3rd. Larson in 4th. And Gralla in 5th. So Harrison Burton was moved all the way up onto the outside line on the restart and was quickly being freight trained. And there you see he's trying to cut down to the middle line so, he can at least stop the bleeding a little bit. But the 22 car Logano clips him just a little bit right there, turning him hard down into the inside retaining wall with heavy front-end damage on the number 95 of Harrison Burton. Blaney just barely misses him. Same thing with Anthony Alfredo, but that crash could have been a whole lot worse than it was. And here's the onboard with Harrison Burton. Fortunately, that wasn't a straight-on impact, but it was pretty close to it. And that has knocked the number 95 car of Harrison Burton out of the race after such a good run was going for him through stage 1. And the pace car pulls off. Martin Truex Jr. leading Ross Chastain down to the general tire restart zone. Green flag. And look at Christopher Bell move all the way up to the outside line, trying to get around the 55. Chastain definitely gets a great restart on the 19 car of Truex. Moves him up off the inside line. Chastain takes first off of Martin Truex Jr. Slides a little bit on the exit of turn 2, almost made contact. but Chastain is now your leader. Christopher Bell is going to take up second. Matt DiBenedetto down on the inside as well, trying to pressure the 50 car of Kaz Gralla, but looks like Gralla might be able to cut into the inside line. But now Truex being freight trained just a little bit, being up on the non-preferred outside lane. And Chastain has already extended his lead out to almost 0.3 of a second after just a couple laps out front. And Gralla gives Truex the lane. Martin Truex Jr. cuts back down to the inside line in third spot. Kevin Harvick down on the inside, the 2 car of Matt DiBenedetto. That's going to move the 4 up into the top 5. And Tyler Ankrum follows suit to take up 6th. Here comes Truex. Back on the inside, the 61 car of Christopher Bell. Almost made contact there on the exit of turn 2. It looks like Truex is going to move his way back up into second through 3 and 4. Kaz Gralla down on the inside is going to follow the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. by the 61 of Bell. And Gralla takes up third spot, his best run of the year so far. Clint Boyer down on the inside line, now racing with the 2 car of Matt DiBenedetto for a top 10 position. Kyle Larson now on the inside of Christopher Bell, the 61 car still dropping back on the outside line. Larson is going to move his way up into 6th with that move. 3 wide there on the exit of turn number 2. 53 car of Chase Briscoe backs out before any kind of incident right there could have happened between the 21 and 22 cars. That was very dicey right there on the exit of the second turn. Matt DiBenedetto just got around the number 3 car of Austin Dillon. That moves DiBenedetto back up into 9th spot. Dillon now drops out of the top 10 with Bowman taking up the 10th spot. Lap traffic right up in front of race leader Ross Chastain. That's the number 96 of Drew Herring, who had to make an extra pit stop for a loose wheel. Truex runs turn 1 just a little bit wide, loses about 0.2 of a second on the 55 car. And Ross Chastain through turns 1 and 2 cleanly gets around the number 96 car of Drew Herring. Kaz Gralla still holding on to the 3rd spot, the number 50 car for RCR. You can see Truex running just a little bit lower lane than the number 55 car of Ross Chastain. That's probably why Truex has been running just a little bit quicker almost every lap from the 55. But Chastain's been able to hold him down and keep Truex from making any moves on him. As look at Ankrum. 3 wide down on the inside, the 4 and 96 cars, but they keep it together. Ankrum, however, backs off, entering turn number 3, giving Harvick the spot. And just for an update on Chase Elliott, he has not really made his way through the field very much whatsoever. Just got around the number 40 car of Quinn Half to take up 37th. The 9 car is handling terribly at the moment. And once again, the field has more or less strung out like it was throughout the first stage, with the 55 and 19 cars setting such a blistering pace right now that really the field doesn't have any way of getting bunched up. But there you see Clint Boyer down on the inside of Christopher Bell. Those 2 are battling for 7th spot. But Bell looks like he's going to try and hold down the 14 car on the exit of turn 2. Side by side down the backstretch. Boyer gets just a little bit loose and Bell clears him. Martin Truex Jr. has once again got within a car length of the number 55 car of Ross Chastain, trying to pressure Chastain into making a mistake. And now here comes Christopher Bell pressuring the number 57 car of Kyle Larson through turns 3 and 4. That is going to move Christopher Bell up in to 6th spot if he can make the move, but he got loose on the exit of turn 4. Larson clears him once again, and Clint Boyer now side by side with the 61 once again. You have 3 dirt racers running with each other right there, Boyer, Bell, and Larson. And here comes the number 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. all over the back bumper, the 55 of Ross Chastain. Down to the inside through turns 1 and 2. Truex takes the race lead on the exit of turn number 2. Stage 1 winner is back out front. Kevin Harvick now pressuring the number 50 car of Kaz Gralla for third spot. Here's a bit of a battle for position between the 24 and 3 cars, with Austin Dillon being pressured by William Byron for the 13th spot. Looks like Byron's going to take it on the exit of turn number 4. I will say this, Ross Chastain is not giving up on the race lead. Right up in front of Martin Truex Jr. is the lap car of Myatt Snider. That might open up a prime opportunity for Ross Chastain to try and get around the 19 car once again. It's been very hard to pass all day, but if you use a lap car as a pick, that's kind of an open door to make a pass. And here comes Chastain down on the inside of the 19 car Truex once again. These two battling for the top spot. Truex looks like he's cleared him just for the moment. A little bit of contact right there on the exit of turn 2. And Chastain going to try and dive it into turn 3. Gets up side by side. And Chastain is back out front at Dover, getting around Martin Truex Jr. Quite the battle right now between these two. But they still have to get around Myatt Snider, the lap car right up in front of them. And once again, here comes Martin Truex Jr. He got a very good run on the exit of turns 3 and 4, right up to the back bumper of the 55 car of Chastain. These two battling so intensely for the top spot has brought Kaz Gralla and Kevin Harvick back up into the mix for the top spot. Here comes Truex, back down to the inside of 55 through 3 and 4. Onto the front stretch at the line. It is Chastain to hold the top spot. He dives into turn 1 to clear Martin Truex Jr. off the outside line. That really has not happened too much in today's race. There you see the number 38 car of Anthony Alfredo stalled down on the inside line. Caution flag is waving. Ross Chastain leads the field back to the caution flag above the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr., the 50 of Kaz Gralla, the 4 of Kevin Harvick, and the 26 of Tyler Ankrum. And that also means that Myatt Snider has kept his lap, and he remains on the same lap as the race leaders. This time by, Ross Chastain leads all of the lead lap cars down pit road. Oh, and once again, the number 57 car of Larson hits the 19 car of Truex, this time giving Truex pretty significant right side damage that they're going to have to fix on this pit stop. Kaz Gralla is already off and away. Same thing with the 55 car Chastain. Ross Chastain is your first car off of pit road, getting out in front of the 50 of Kaz Gralla. Truex drops down to third, then Harvick and Ankrum, your top 5. And once again, the pace car ducks onto pit road. Ross Chastain leading Kaz Gralla into the general tire restart zone with just 5 laps to go in stage 2. Green flag. Gralla does not get a very good restart on the number 55 car of Ross Chastain. That already has started to bottle up the field behind him. Down the inside, Kyle Larson trying to make a move on the 61 car of Christopher Bell. And here comes Martin Truex Jr. down to the inside, the number 50 car of Kaz Gralla. And it looks like Truex is going to take up second spot. Tyler Ankrum currently resides in 4th. But him being stuck up on the outside line, that's going to allow Christopher Bell to gain quite a bit of time on him down the backstretch. But Bell gets a little loose on the exit of turn 2. That's going to let Ankrum right past him. But look at that. The 61 car gets the drive in the center of the corner. Still side by side, but Ankrum clears him on the exit of turn number 4. Here comes Hamlin. 3 wide down on the inside, getting around the 60 and 4 cars of Harvick, with Harvick really being forced out of line and up into the marbles, had to drop down already 3 spots. Down on the inside, now Kyle Larson going for 8th spot off the 4 car of Kevin Harvick, and he has taken it. And on the exit of turn number 4, Ross Chastain sees the white flag in stage number 2. Battling with Martin Truex Jr. for the spot. Truex all over the back bumper. Here comes Ankrum down on the inside, getting around the 50 car of Kaz Gralla. Looks like Ankrum's going to take up third. But Ross Chastain holds off Martin Truex Jr., to win stage number 2 at Dover International Speedway. Ross Chastain is your stage number 2 winner, above Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Ankrum, Kaz Gralla, and 5th spot was taken by Denny Hamlin. NASCAR on Speed Station is being brought to you by RFJ, the official home of the RFJ AI series. By Knife Friend 725, the brains behind Project Retroval. And by Anthony's Online Simulation League. And now the pace car hits pit road. Ross Chastain leading Martin Truex Jr. into the General Tire restart zone for the final stage here at Dover. Green flag. Truex really doesn't get a very good jump on the 55 car of Chastain. He's got the 26 of Tyler Ankrum all over his back bumper. In fact, we have the field already starting to fan out. 11 car of Denny Hamlin on the inside, the 50 of Kaz Gralla, but here comes Gralla on the bottom of the 26. Going for 3rd spot, Martin Truex Jr. has a run on the 55 car of Ross Chastain. Gralla looks like he's going to retake 3rd spot off the 26 of Tyler Ankrum. 3 wide move down on the inside. Chase Briscoe getting around the 48 and 61 cars. Denny Hamlin now battling side by side with the 26 car of Tyler Ankrum. That's going to move Hamlin up into 4th spot. Battling side by side with the 50 of Kaz Gralla. Here comes Martin Truex Jr. trying to pressure the 55 car right up off the bottom, but he can't quite do it. And down the backstretch, the 11 car of Denny Hamlin has taken up 3rd spot. Clint Boyer down on the inside, getting around the 50 of Kaz Gralla to move his way up into 4th. Alex Bowman on the inside of the number 61 car of Christopher Bell. He slides just a little bit on the exit of turn 2. That will move the number 48 car of Bowman up into 8th spot. Here comes the number 26 of Tyler Ankrum down on the inside of Chase Briscoe on the exit of turn number 2. 3 wide racing going on right there between the 20, 22, and 12 cars. A lot of 2s involved in this mix. 4 to be exact, with Brandon Jones getting the advantage on the exit of turn 4. Bowman still battling with the 53 car of Chase Briscoe, now to the inside of the 26 of Tyler Ankrum, trying to make his way up into 6th, as Clint Boyer down on the bottom of Denny Hamlin, going for 3rd spot, and it looks like he has done it. Here comes Martin Truex Jr., just gives the 55 car Chastain a shot coming off of turn number 2, trying to get down to Chastain's inside. And look at that momentum through 3 and 4. Martin Truex Jr., the Stage 1 winner, is back out front. Clint Boyer, the 2019 Series champion, down on the inside, will take up 2nd. Here comes Bowman down on the inside of Kaz Gralla. These 2 battling for the 5th position. Down in turns 1 and 2, the 48 car holds the advantage, and it looks like he's going to take up the 5th spot on the exit of the corner. Denny Hamlin has raced his way up into 4th position, the winner at Circuit of the Americas, in dominating fashion, I might add. We only had 4 race leaders at that racetrack, and here comes Clint Boyer down on the inside of Martin Truex Jr. And Boyer has taken up the top spot on the exit of turn number 2, trying to redeem himself after that close loss to Chase Elliott at the Nashville Fairgrounds, as Ross Chastain is going to take up 2nd on the exit of turn number 2. Truex, though, battling him side by side, and he's actually going to dive it into turn 1 and re-clear the 55 car for 2nd. Lap traffic up in front of race leader Clint Boyer, that being the number 34 of Michael McDowell, last year's Yellowwood 500 winner, and last year's Southern 500 winner, Myatt Snyder, are in jeopardy of falling 1 lap down as Alex Bowman's down on the inside of Denny Hamlin. Bowman moves his way up into 4th. Look at Kaz Gralla taking advantage of the 11 car being moved off the inside line. That's going to move Gralla up into 5th spot. Also, Kyle Larson following suit down on the inside to get around the 26 and now pressuring the 11 car of Hamlin. But Hamlin clears him on the exit of turn 2. Down the inside line, Christopher Bell has just driven his way around the 26 of Tyler Ankrum. That moves Bell back up into 8th spot. And Clint Boyer has just ran down the lap car of Michael McDowell. Going to have to start making some decisions right here, although he does get slowed up just a little bit. Remember that lap traffic is what made him lose the race at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Gets down to the inside of Michael McDowell. Martin Truex Jr. still waiting in 2nd spot. He's going to close the gap just a little bit on the exit of turn number 2. Slides up, though, almost makes contact with Michael McDowell. But Boyer has cleanly gotten around the lap car. Truex, though, quickly gaining time on the exit of turn 4. And now Boyer still has to get around the 43 car of Myatt Snider. Through 3 and 4, look at this run by the 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. trying to cut his way down to the inside of the 14. These two were former teammates at Michael Waltrip Racing about 10 years ago now. And Michael McDowell just barely holding up the 3rd place runner of Ross Chastain. Chastain now to the inside. Looks like he's going to get around him with the 48 car of Alex Bowman right in line behind. Well, Kaz Gralla almost makes contact with the 34 car of McDowell as well. Hamlin shooting it through the middle. Gralla now going 3 wide down on the inside. Hamlin really tried to stuff it into turn number 3 to try and make it stick. Martin Truex Jr. still trying to chase down the 14 car of Clint Boyer. Boyer has to get around the number 43 of Myatt Snider, but still has not been able to do so. Here comes Truex. He's got the drive off on the exit of turn number 4, but just can't quite do it. Boyer going to try and dive it into turn 1, and he re-clears that number 19 car of Truex. We are 127 laps into this race, and Kyle Busch resides 23rd. Still not a very good run going so far for Kyle Busch in the Interstate Batteries Camry. Have you noticed this year it seems like every time that Interstate Batteries is represented on that car doesn't run good? They're not having a good race going right now, and they didn't even make the Daytona 500. So they might need to request a paint scheme change. Clint Boyer still trying to figure out a way around the 43 car of Myatt Snider. It is really slowing him up and allowing that 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. to really close the gap through the corners. Here comes Truex down to the inside into turn number 1. Side by side with Clint Boyer for the top spot. Down into turn number 3, Truex has the preferred inside line. And Martin Truex Jr. is back out front. Clint Boyer still just barely holding on, still battling the 19 car of Truex, but it looks like it is easily going to fall to the 19 car. Truex back out front with now the 55 car of Chastain battling Clint Boyer for second. Through 3 and 4, 55 car Chastain has taken up second spot once again. Alex Bowman waiting in line trying to make a similar move. It looks like he follows Clint Boyer up to the outside. And now Bowman to the inside lane. Side drives the 14 car down the backstretch. Not really quite sure how necessary that is at this facility. It's not quite a mile and a half or something like that. You can still do it, but it's a little too risky because of the way the car dips on the exit of the turns here. But Bowman's still battling side by side with Boyer for the 3rd spot. And it looks like he's going to do it. Alex Bowman up into 3rd in the 48 car. Also following Bowman down on the inside line to get around the 14 car of Boyer is the 11 of Denny Hamlin. So it looks like Hamlin's going to get around the 14 car of Boyer to take up the 4th spot. And Christopher Bell's trying to follow the 11 car down on the inside to take up 5th. But Boyer clears the 11 car of Hamlin using the outside line. And now Bell down on the inside of the 11. And now Bell has gotten around Denny Hamlin. If you recall earlier in today's race, Jan Magnussen was running right around 39th spot with Chase Elliott and Kurt Busch, but he has raced his way up into 28th in the 33 car. So it looks like they're starting to figure something out with that car. Take a look at who Martin Truex Jr. has still yet to pass. Myatt Snider, the lap car, the number 43, still in front of the race leader. That kind of shows you something about how difficult it really is here to pass, because that car was slow enough to drop almost 1 lap down, but now that Truex is trying to lap it, he just can't get around it. Austin Dillon in the number 3 car has already dropped down to 15th spot. And he's kind of running in between 2 packs of cars somewhat by himself, so that might be just a bit of a saving grace that he has a gap in front and a gap behind, so he's not really racing with anyone since his car isn't handling very good. And finally, here comes Truex down to the inside of the 43 car of Myatt Snider, putting Snider a lap down. Truex gets around him cleanly as the 55 car of Chastain still battles alongside the 43. And Myatt Snider, causing just a bit of a checkup, has brought the number 14 car of Clint Boyer back up into the mix. He was battling alongside the 48 car of Alex Bowman for about 1 lap, but now backs off entering turn 3. And currently it is Truex still dominating today's race above Chastain, Bowman, Boyer, and Bell. And here comes Christopher Bell down on the inside of the 14 car of Clint Boyer. 61 moves up into 4th. Here comes Denny Hamlin on the inside of the number 14 car of Clint Boyer. That will move Hamlin up into 5th. He's been having a very classic Denny Hamlin race. Been quiet all day, hasn't really shown up front, but is consistently within the top 5. Not really making any noise, but just getting that nice, consistent run right at the front of the field. One of those points-building days after Hamlin has already locked himself into the playoffs, so they don't need to worry about wrecking cars. They just need to get nice and consistent points finishes. Here comes Kaz Gralla down on the inside of the number 14 car of Clint Boyer. And it looks like Gralla is going to take up 6th spot in the number 50. Tyler Ankrum, just in line behind the number 26, remains in 8th, but here he comes down to the inside of 14. He's going to take up 7th. And now there is lap traffic right up in front of race leader Martin Truex Jr. In front of him, he has the 9 car of Chase Elliott and the 37 of Eric Jones. You know, ain't this just how racing works? Jones won stage number 2 last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds. Chase Elliott won the race, and they currently set 36th and 34th. Elliott actually fell 1 lap down to having to make an emergency pit stop for a flat tire, as now here comes the 48 car of Alex Bowman down on the inside of 55. Bowman has taken up 2nd. Now side-by-side battle for 3rd between the 61 and 55. Chastain tried diving it into the corner, but it looks like Bell is going to take up the 3rd spot. Now with just less than 50 laps to go here at Dover, we have Bowman residing in 2nd, about 0.4 of a second behind the race leader, Martin Truex Jr. Yeah, with Truex's domination, you really have to wonder who could it be to outrun the number 19 car, because so far there's only been 2 drivers that have taken the lead outside of that 19 and actually had to pass Truex to do it. Those being Chastain in the 55 and Boyer in the 14. But right now, that 48 car is running him down quickly. Chase Elliott just barely blocked the number 19 car of Martin Truex Jr. Elliott has his teammate Bowman running in 2nd spot. Bowman closed the gap down to about 0.3 of a second right there. But Bowman just barely gets side drafted on the exit of turn number 4 by the 9 car of Elliott. That pulled back the gap just a couple car lengths. And now Martin Truex Jr. through turns 1 and 2 cleanly gets around the number 37 of Eric Jones, putting Jones down a lap. Chase Elliott now 2 laps down the 9 car. And Truex still dominating this race above the 48 car of Alex Bowman. Farther in the back, we have the 55 car of Ross Chastain stuck between lap cars. Chase Elliott, now he's trying to get down to the inside of, as well as the 43 car of Snider. It looks like he easily does it. Clint Boyer down on the inside of Denny Hamlin has just retaken the 5th spot as Hamlin was stuck in line behind the lap car of Chase Elliott. This is certainly not the day that Elliott was looking forward to. Coming into this race as the point leader, I definitely don't think he's going to leave it as the point leader, as he currently resides in 38th, 2 laps down. Oh, a little bit of contact right there on the exit of turn 4 between Elliott and Gralla, as Gralla has been held up for several laps behind the 9 car of Elliott. We have a 3-car breakaway now. It's Truex, Bowman, and Bell breaking away from the rest of the field as the gap back to 4th from the race leader is almost 2 seconds. And something suspension-related has broke on the number 89 car of Landon Castle. He is very slow down on the apron. Oh, and into the wall he goes, up in front of Kaz Gralla. Hard impact. Gralla's day is done. The number 50 car for RCR is heavily damaged. Caution flag is out. Austin Cindric also taken out in this incident. Martin Truex Jr. led the field back to the caution above the 48 car of Alex Bowman, then the 61 of Christopher Bell, the 55 of Ross Chastain, and the 14 of Clint Boyer. Well, the 89 is having a steering issue. The car really just veers left right here into the Gander Outdoors logo, right up in front of the field. There's the 50 car of Kaz Gralla. Hard impact into the 89 car, up into the air. Almost turns over when he gets hit by the 21 car of Austin Cindric. Heavy, heavy damage on the 50 car on the exit of turn number 2 and comes to rest right against the wall on the inside line. Here's the onboard with Kaz Gralla. I mean, he just absolutely had nowhere to go in that accident, being LePage by the number 89 car of Castle. And fortunately, all of the drivers involved in that incident were uninjured, as now Martin Truex Jr. leads the entire field down pit road. And the first car out of the pits with a very fast pit stop is Martin Truex Jr. getting out in front of the 48 car of Alex Bowman, and then an incredibly fast stop by Kyle Busch's team, taking Kyle Busch from 12th to 3rd off pit road. Lightning fast on the 18 team. Then the 61 of Christopher Bell off in 4th, and the 99 of Ryan Preece, who came down in 13th and comes off in 5th. Huge shakeups off pit road. And so Martin Truex Jr. has got his work cut out for him on this restart. He has 4 lap cars starting up in front of him. Tyler Ankrum, Ryan Newman, Brad Keselowski, and Justin Haley are all starting right up in front of him. And that's certainly going to open up the opportunity for Alex Bowman to try and dive in on the 19 car of Truex. And the pace car ducks onto pit road. Tyler Ankrum, the lap car, leading the field into the General Tire restart zone, with your race leader Martin Truex Jr. 5th in line. Green flag. Already Truex just barely getting slowed up by the number 77 car of Justin Haley. Here comes Kyle Busch on the inside. Side by side with the 48 car of Alex Bowman, going for 2nd. It looks like he's going to get it. Kyle Busch going for 2nd, but he gets outdrove into turn number 3. 48 car back up into 2nd. We have a bit of a mess right here as the field fans out. Caution flag is already out. Snyder into the wall. Up in front of the field, the number 37 car gets just a little bit of left side damage, but Chase Briscoe sends the number 43 car of Snyder very hard into the inside wall, but that wasn't even while we were under caution. They were racing back to the flag when that happened. And here's the reason for the yellow. At the tail end of the field on the restart, the number 33 car of Jan Magnussen's a little slow from some crash damage, gets hit by the number 40 car of Quinn Half straight into the inside wall and gets sent around, as well as the 40 car of Half spinning into turn number 3. Not too much damage on the 33 and 40 cars from that accident, however. But right here, entering turn number 3, the number 99 car of Ryan Preece gets a little bit loose up on the outside line, and here comes the field just fanning out for positions. Harvick trying to go 4 wide down on the inside. And then the 53 car accidentally slides up into the 43 on the exit of turn number 4, turns him straight down to the inside wall. Left sides get off the ground just for a couple seconds right there up in front of the field, and this could have been a whole lot worse if he would have been hit driver's side. But fortunately, just a little bit of contact between the 4 and 37 cars. Not too terrible damage on the 43 car, but certainly going to be off the pace if they decide to run the rest of the event. And believe it or not, because of that accident, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman, and Tyler Ankrum are still on the lead lap. They outraced Martin Truex Jr. back to the stripe. And this time by, your third-place runner Kyle Busch hits pit road once again, as well as the number 99 car of Ryan Preece. Pace car hits the pits. Martin Truex Jr. has one lap car between him and the second place runner Alex Bowman, that being the 77 of Justin Haley. Green flag. Already Bowman looking for a way around the number 77 car. Here comes Christopher Bell down on the inside, challenging Bowman for second. He's going for it. Onto the backstretch. Side drafting. Entering turn number 3. Looks like the 61 of Christopher Bell is going to take up second. Now to the inside, the 77 trying to have his shot at the number 19 car of Truex. But still, the number 61 battling side by side with the 48, now just barely clearing him on the exit of turn number 2. Justin Haley doing a pretty good job to remain in what would be in second spot if he was still on the lead lap. Here comes Bell right up to the back bumper. Once again, yellow flag is back out. Caution flag is displayed on the speedway. I saw Kyle Busch back on pit road. Martin Truex Jr. is your race leader. Above the 61 of Christopher Bell, the 48 of Alex Bowman. Oh, into the wall goes the number 61 of Christopher Bell. Justin Haley bouncing off the inside and outside walls. I have no idea what that was about right there. But Bowman in third, Boyer in fourth, and the 55 of Ross Chastain in fifth. Probably a little bit of right side damage on the 61 after that little skirmish with the 77. This is a very confusing accident right here. Watch the number 96 car of Drew Herring. You see the 18 car Kyle Busch comes back down pit road and the 34. I think Herring wanted to come down, but it's way too late. Tries abruptly slowing up, makes contact with the 6 car Ryan Newman, and up into the outside wall goes the 96, almost being hit by the 43 car, but was not. And then he high centers on the 24-degree banking on the exit of turn 4. Let's see, this all probably starts on the exit of turn number 4. Christopher Bell in the 61 makes a little bit of contact with the 77 car of Justin Haley. Now they're going side by side under the cool down. They're all trying to get single file. And the 77 car of Haley makes just a little bit of contact with the 61 of Christopher Bell, spinning Bell up into the outside wall. Then the 77 hits into the number 48, back up into the outside wall and just clipped by the 14 car of Boyer, down into the inside wall, and finally that kind of puts his ping-ponging to rest and completely slows the number 77 car down. But guess what? Because he was rightfully running second in line, Justin Haley will be restarting right up in front of Christopher Bell with now a damaged race car. So that's going to make the restart maybe just a little tougher for the 61 car of Christopher Bell. And the pace car hits pit road. Once again, the lap car of Justin Haley separating first and second place as Truex leads the field into the general tire restart zone. Green flag. Just 34 laps to go here at Dover. Look at how much speed the 77 is costing the 61. Bell now to the inside. Finally getting around Justin Haley on the exit of turn number 2. Alex Bowman running in third spot, being challenged by the 14 car of Boyer as Boyer tries going through the middle. 19 car once again still out front above the 61, 48, and 14 as the 11 car of Denny Hamlin down on the inside went 3 wide on the 77 and the 55 cars to take up fifth. A little bit of contact right there on the exit of turn 2 between the 4 and 3 cars, with Dillon pushing up just a little bit into the 4 car of Harvick, but they kept it together. Oh, and more contact on the exit of the corner. Blaney gets turned around. Caution flag is already out. 24 car hard into the inside wall. Bubba Wallace with some damage as well in the 2311 Camry. And unlike the last few seasons at Dover where we had a bunch of crashes to begin the race, this year we're getting a bunch of crashes to end it. So here's what happened. Racing for 24th spot, Tyler Ankrum in the 26 car makes contact with the 42 on the exit of turn 2, sending him around and into the 99 car of Ryan Preece. Some inside wall contact and some rear damage on the number 42 car of Justin Allgaier, but then he high centers it on the banking by backing up, so they had to tow the car back to pit road. However, we had a mess coming back to the start-finish line. Daniel Suarez feels like Justin Haley is holding him up, makes contact with the number 77 car of Haley, sends him down into the 12 of Ryan Blaney. That spins the 12 car of Blaney around and up in front of the field. 00 then slams down into the 24 car of Byron. Pretty significant front-end damage on the number 24. Cars are still spinning up in front of the field. 23 car of Bubba Wallace makes contact with the 24, and also Kyle Busch got some damage from a checkup farther back. Magnussen, Brad Keselowski, Stenhouse, and Ryan Preece all involved in this mess on the front stretch, and it isn't even the reason why the caution came out. These guys were just racing back to the flag and wrecked each other. And once again, the pace car ducks onto pit road. This time, Justin Haley is not a part of the equation, as Martin Truex Jr. leads the field into the General Tire restart zone. Green flag, just 18 laps to go here at Dover. Martin Truex Jr. does not get the jump that he really needed on the 61 car of Christopher Bell, giving Bell the opportunity to close the gap through 1 and 2. Oh, the caution lights are already on. We must have had another accident in the back. Boyer now challenging the 48 car of Bowman for third spot. Martin Truex Jr. leading the field back to the caution flag once again as your race leader. It's Truex holding the top spot above the 61 car of Christopher Bell, the 48 of Bowman, the 14 of Boyer, and the 11 of Hamlin, who raced his way into 5th. So it is perfectly legal to pass slower cars on the restart on the outside line before the start-finish line. You cannot pass on the inside, but you can pass on the outside. So Justin Allgaier at the tail end sees an opportunity to get around the 96, 43, 6, and 99 cars, who are much slower than him, at the tail end of the line by jumping up to the outside line and trying to make it work back to the stripe so he can then theoretically cut down to the inside into turn 1 and clear all these guys. But on the exit of turn number 4 to take the green flag, he makes contact with the 99 car of Ryan Preece, spinning him around just as the field takes the green. So we were already under caution before we even made it into turn 1. Although I will say this, we get this very nice 5-wide moment in the accident, including one car setting backwards. And yet again, pace car back onto pit road. Martin Truex Jr. leading the field into the restart zone with now just 13 laps to go in the Drydene 400. Green flag. The field once again fanning out for all the track position that they can get on these restarts. Here comes Alex Bowman down on the inside of Christopher Bell going for second. It's crunch time now. This may be the final restart, because I think at this point we've whittled the field down to where we don't have too many cars that can wreck at this point. Look at Bowman's run through 3 and 4. Side by side with Martin Truex Jr. entering turn 1. But Truex sails it off into turn 1 to clear the 48 car of Bowman. Boyer up to 3rd, and Kevin Harvick taking up 4th. Here comes Boyer down on the inside through 3 and 4. Clint Boyer takes up 2nd. He's been one of the only cars throughout today's race that can actually pass the number 19 car, Martin Truex Jr., once Truex gets into clean air. So this may be a good opportunity for Boyer. Kevin Harvick also follows suit with his teammate in the number 14 car to take up 3rd, getting around Alex Bowman. Now just 10 laps to go in the Drydene 400 from Dover. Martin Truex Jr. is your leader by about 0.2 of a second above the 2019 Series champion Clint Boyer, and then behind Boyer is his teammate Kevin Harvick. Down on the inside, we have the 55 car of Ross Chastain battling for position with the 61. 61 clears him, and here comes Austin Dillon on the bottom of Chastain. That will move Dillon up into 7th. On the inside line, here comes the 53 car of Chase Briscoe battling with Denny Hamlin. This is the battle for 9th spot. It looks like Briscoe's going to take it. Also, Joey Logano follows suit to take up 10th. Kevin Harvick all over the back bumper of his teammate Clint Boyer. Right now, it seems like the Stewart-Haas teammates are battling so much that Martin Truex Jr. might be able to pull out to a pretty significant advantage. like what we were seeing in the Camping World Truck Series race, actually, at the Nashville Super Speedway. Those battles for second allow the leader to get away. Looks like that might be happening here, but Boyer got a very good exit of turn number 4, closed the gap right up to the back bumper of the 19. And also Larson challenging the 48 car of Bowman into turn 1, but looks like Bowman's has the spot. Lap car of Anthony Alfredo right up in front of the race leader, Martin Truex Jr. That's going to slow up Truex just a little bit. However, Boyer can't really capitalize all that much as he ran turn number 3 wide. Now he's battling with his teammate Harvick for second. Now with just 5 laps to go, side by side with Alfredo, almost makes contact on the exit of turn 2, just trying to put a car lap down. But Truex still holds the race lead. Clint Boyer all over the back bumper in a battle for position between Larson and Bowman. Boyer down on the inside. He has just a little bit better car right now than the 19. Hoping that Truex potentially makes a mistake, but there's no lap traffic up in front of him that at least we'll get to before the end of the race. So he just has to hope that it's a driver error for Martin Truex Jr., but he does not make those kind of mistakes at Dover. Austin Dillon in the number 3 car has raced his way all the way up to 7th spot with a great run going right now for the 3 team. 3 cars under a blanket out front. It is Truex versus Boyer versus Harvick, with the 48 car of Bowman setting just a couple car lengths behind. Oh, Boyer did not get a very good exit of turn number 2. He's going to let Harvick down to his inside. Coming off of turn 4, Martin Truex Jr. sees the white flag at Dover. After a year full of disappointment, failing to make his 3rd consecutive Daytona 500, then currently setting 28th in points, the ongoing rumors of them trying to find a replacement for next season. Well, guess what? Truex has done it again. He won here last year, getting his season back on track at Dover, and he has done it again. Martin Truex Jr. wins the Drydene 400 from Dover International Speedway, locking himself into the playoffs in the Southern 500. Came into this race 28th in points. This is going to be a very significant boost for that team, and Harvick stole second above his teammate Clint Boyer. And Martin Truex Jr. has done it, picking up his first win in almost 1 year, coming at the very same racetrack that he won at last season, Dover International Speedway, really cementing himself as the best active driver in the field at this facility. I guess picking up where Jimmy Johnson was at this racetrack with his dominance at Dover. Kevin Harvick stole second there at the end in the closing laps above his teammate Clint Boyer, who wound up finishing in 3rd. Alex Bowman in 4th. Kyle Larson in 5th. He was your pole sitter. Christopher Bell gets a great run and brings it home in 6th. Austin Dillon, another good points finish for the number 3 team, finishes 7th. Ross Chastain in 8th after winning stage number 2 and leading some laps. Chase Briscoe finishes in 9th, his teammate, and Joey Logano rounds out your top 10. After today's race at Dover, Denny Hamlin, who didn't even make the Daytona 500, has taken the point lead after Chase Elliott's terrible race and 38th place finish. Hamlin now holds the point lead by 4 points above Kevin Harvick, who moves up 2 spots to second in the standings. Clint Boyer in his final season is only 8 points out of the point lead and moves up 2 spots in points to third. Chase Elliott, with his terrible finish, drops from the point lead down to 4th in the standings, 22 points behind, and he is tied with Justin Allgaier in that spot in the point standings. Also keep in mind, by the way, Denny Hamlin leads the points with only 8 laps led. That's just kind of an interesting fun fact about that situation. Austin Dillon moves from 10th to 6th with his top 10 finish here at Dover. An incredible run going so far for that team. Joey Logano moves up 2 spots in points to 7th. Matt DiBenedetto stays in 8th. Brad Keselowski drops down 2 to 9th, and Kyle Busch loses a full 4 spots in points to 10th. Also keep in mind, with Martin Truex Jr.'s win, he now has the most laps led of any competitor in the field with 139. He led 132 of those laps just here at Dover. And with his win, he is locked into the playoffs, but he's only 19th in points. Still not a very good run going after trouble in the Daytona 500 qualifying races. Didn't even make the race for the third consecutive season, and had some bad runs throughout the first few races of the year. So you still need to keep your eyes on that number 19 to see if they're worth, keeping that group together in the next season. Because even though Truex has won, if he only wins once this year, that will be equal to last season's results, which is not what Joe Gibbs is looking for. He is looking for consistent winners and performers. And right now, even knowing he's got this win, it's at the same exact racetrack he won at last year. So still there's a lot of criticism over Martin Truex Jr., but I believe that he will be shaking it off. And this is a good way for him to rebound after getting involved in that post-race fight with Timothy Peters last week at the Nashville Fairgrounds. In the playoff standings, after 7 races, we have 7 drivers locked in. Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Martin Truex Jr., Jan Magnussen, and Josh Bilicki are all locked in via wins. And by the way, Bilicki didn't make the race at Dover, so he has dropped down 7 additional spots in the regular season standings down to 23rd. But because so many drivers have been going back and forth in the standings, you don't really need to be too concerned about him so far, because he still resides 23rd. If he gets a couple more good runs, speaking of which, next week is Talladega, he should be safely within the top 30. Who knows, he could even pull off another win, because I've been hearing rumors about them getting far better equipment for the upcoming Talladega race compared to what they had when they won at Daytona. And given the fact that they're the only restrictor plate winner of the year, I wouldn't think that you could count out the 71 car at Talladega Superspeedway. Then the best of the rest. Kevin Harvick is 58 points above the cutoff line in 8th in the playoff standings, as he has not yet won a race this season. Boyer is 54 points above Allgaier 40, Austin Dillon 28, Logano 26, DiBenedetto 23, Keselowski 22, Buescher 11, and Alex Bowman 4 points above the cutoff line. Kurt Busch is 4 points on the outside looking in, and he almost won the championship last season at Atlanta. So he really needs to step up his performance in the number 1 car. Eric Jones is 6 points out, which is a very neat surprise for a JTG car being this close to a playoff spot. Daniel Suarez is 7 points out, and Quinn Half is 8 points out in the 40 car for Chip Ganassi Racing. And from all of us here at the Speed Station, we hope that you have enjoyed today's telecast of the Drydene 400 from Dover International Speedway. The next time you'll be seeing us will be for episode number 3 of Post Tech, when we go over the activities at Dover International Speedway for the KDI Office Technology 200 NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. The next Cup Series race that we'll be covering is the Geico 500 from Talladega, one of the Drive for 5 races, where if you win 3 out of the 5, you get a $1 million bonus at the close of the contest in the NASCAR Cup Series. Currently, the only driver eligible for the big prize is Josh Bilicki, so I wonder if he may be able to pull off at least 3 out of 5 races. And so we congratulate Martin Truex Jr. and company on their first win in almost 1 season, locking themselves in to the playoffs.